Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Matters of Public Importance right here on Channel 6. We come to you every week to bring you matters of importance to you as citizens of Guyana, and to try to discuss the issues and also to give you information so that you can make your own judgments about what's going on in Guyana. Of course, today we're going to focus on the budget with 2017 because I think that's on everybody's mind. But just before we start that, just to remind you that the Office of the Leader Opposition is at 304 Church Street, and that our numbers are 225432. Remember, the last two digits, 32, are the number of members of Parliament we have. Today, as I said, we'll be looking at the budget 2017, and there's some really serious concerns. Some people have called it the budget of doom and gloom. I have called it a disaster, as a budget and a disaster for Guyana. The Leader Opposition has also been criticizing it and calling this as an example of the ineptitude and incompetence of the government to be able to bring this and stimulate the economy and to provide for the people. So that we have a budget in front of us, and these are the long statistics they share with us, and the total, of course, 230,349,079,000, with the public debt being 19,774,087,000, bringing a grand total of $250 billion. And so, what does this budget have for you, the people of Guyana? Well, what we can say is what it doesn't have, and certainly we're not seeing any reflection in the budget for increases of public servant salaries for the year 2017. We know there was a salary increase given this year, but the persons who really benefit, even though they only got 1% of the salary increase, are those at the higher levels of the public service. People who have still not got a salary increase for 2015 nor 2016 are the police, the Guyana Defence Force, the prison service, and the fire service, as well as the teachers. There have been no salary increases for them thus far. So for 2 years, and of course the sugar workers have been without their API for 2016, and they had no salary increase in 2015. So with that, workers are really having a hard time in this country. I know that the government will come out and say in December we'll give the joint services their 1 month's salary. Sorry, the 50,000. They'll probably do that. What we did as a government was give the joint services a 1 month salary. And so some got 50-odd thousand, some got 200,000, depending on the rank and level they were in the services. This last Christmas, everyone got 50,000. So there's been no announcement of that either, nor in the budget did they seem to cater for that. And so we expect this in the 2016 budget, although we are not aware that it's there. So we have a budget that has not delivered in terms of producing transformative activities and projects and programs to stimulate the economy. And so for the first time, the government has admitted that there's been a decline in economic growth in Guyana from what was a projected 4.4% to what is 2.6%. And just to give you an idea of the decline over the couple of years, just give me a sec, that you have what was over several years, including the economic growth, or GDP as they call it. 2012 was 4.8%, 2013 5.2%, 2014 3.8%, 2015 3.2%, 2016 2.6%. So economic growth has been declining, whereas for 8 years consecutively we had positive growth rate, and that we had reached 5.2%. And the reason why economic growth rate is important, of course, is that as the economic growth capacity enlarges or becomes greater, then you have more money available to you to do things in your country. You have greater revenue generation, greater investments, and so forth, so that there's more money to be able to take care of people, particularly those who are most at risk and most vulnerable. And generally those categories are women, children, youth, elderly, disabled, and Amerindian peoples. Those are the general groups that are called the most at risk in our country. And so we see this economic decline. And so a government's in office, and it's watching our country over the last 18 months go into decline. And that is indisputable. The economy just is going down. There's no great stimulus, and this government appears to be able to, quite willing to sit back and wash their hands and just look at it going to free fall and do nothing. And remember that when they took over this government, they not only took over a government that had economic positive growth rate and a GDP that was in good order, but also we left them over 780 million US dollars in the foreign currency reserves. We also had brought the debt down. So this government had a lot of fiscal space available to them to do all sorts of transformative projects of their own. If they didn't like the PPP zone, then they could create their own. What have they done? They've done zilch. We have seen that in the last year and 18 months of their government, what has been their attitude to economic development and national development, and that is basically their answer to this is taxation. And we saw in February 2016 that we had 140 odd, I think it's 42, 43 new taxes brought in that affected everybody from the horse cart man who has a cart that he has to pay a license for, to those who are bringing agricultural machinery that before heavy duty machinery that was used in the construction, the agricultural sectors, their exemptions for VAT were removed. So that here is a government who seems to not understand what economic development is. And the government has to play a role in assisting and facilitating economic development. It cannot be left totally in the hands of the private sector or farmers and so on. So we've watched them sit by and let the rice industry go into decline. We were producing 600,000 tons of rice. We will see by the end of this year, and when the crop shows that a lot of farmers have given up, they're not producing, and yet this president said, and so did the parliament speaker when we tried to bring a motion on the rice industry, that this was a private affair. And so it seems to be the government expects the rice farmers to pick up themselves, finance themselves, and go around the world looking for markets. This is not the job generally of the private sector, because we are built on small, medium, and large farmers, but not corporate farmers, not where, like in some countries, the United States, you have corporations that control the farms, a particularly example in rice. And so this government has done nothing to help the rice farmers, and therefore a lot of them are just saying we're not producing. Their debts are extraordinarily high to the bank because they have collateralized their homes and their farms to be able to get machinery. So the rice industry is in serious decline, and they had to admit that in the budget speech. Sugar, they're doing nothing to help sugar, just complaining and belly aching all the time that sugar is a drain on this country. However, sugar was, for decades, the only thing that kept this country going. And therefore, to now suddenly decide that 20,000 sugar workers are a drain on the economy and the sugar industry is a drain on the economy is rather, disrespectful to a large bulk of people who make their living from sugar and who benefit from sugar in a variety of ways, particularly those who are businesses and so forth. And so this again, the sugar industry, all they're doing is belly aching and complaining about it because they seem to be looking to privatize, for example, Skeldon. Wales is really a done deal. 1,700 workers are without jobs or will be without jobs by the end of this year. Wales is not producing anything. The factory is really not working. And despite the appeals of GAO and the FITUG and the trade unions to stop this, the government has been completely deaf to their appeals. The cane farmers who are producing for Wales are being diverted to send their sugar to IFLUT, which is further away and more expensive. And therefore, they'll have to do it if they are to survive. And the amount of businesses and shops and little, bottom house shops that sell to the sugar workers, they're all feeling the pinch because people are not going to have money. Not being satisfied with that, they then merging LBI and Enmore. Several hundred workers are not going to be incorporated or included or absorbed into LBI. And there are differences in salaries between what the sugar workers who were at LBI were getting versus the sugar workers at Enmore. So you have a dislocation going on the East Coast. So that's West Bank, East Coast. And then you have the rumors, I don't think it's quite rumors, it's more than that, in that they want to close down Rose Hall Estate. And then, of course, Skeldon, they talking about privatizing. So that the sugar industry, they just seem to be on a path of madness as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely insane what this government is doing in relation to sugar and rice. No one can rationalize this. It is not, you can't reason with these activities and these positions of this government. but it will lead to tremendous dislocation of the working people of this country and businesses that feed to the workers and those companies and provide services and so on. So that's rice and sugar. Bauxite hasn't been doing very well, and of course they keep rumbling and complaining about Rusal. They then, in the timber industry, the logging industry and timber industry has gone into decline as well. And so the closure of Barama, their refusal or inability to create a new agreement with Barama after 20 years of them being here in Guyana, means another 600 workers will lose their jobs, as well as the loggers who produce for Barama and for Baixingling, which they also took away the concessions of Baixingling. So that is affecting, but mainly the loggers are in the Region 10 area. And so you have this, I am flabbergasted by this government. I mean, they defy my ability to comprehend any semblance of reason of why they're doing these things to our country and to our people. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. There's nothing I can do in my common sense to try to rationalize what this means. It is disastrous economic planning, and of course, so that's now gold, which is what is keeping us going, is a result of two major investments we brought in our government, which 3 years ago, that are now producing results. And it is the gold from those two industries that are mainly buoying up the gold sector and producing some economic growth, as well as being able to buoy up the economy. The private sector manufacturing, they have really been treating badly, and the private sector generally. And this 2017 is a disaster for the private sector as well, and the citizens of this country. But in addition to that, we must talk about why we're having two budgets in 1 year. Do you know why? Well, it is great to be able to say it's the first time a budget since 1980 or whenever came in before the end of the year. That's nice to say that. However, what does it mean? We had a budget in August 2015. That was $200 billion. So they had less than 7 months or 6 months to be able to spend $220 billion. Then they brought a budget in February 2016, and they've had 10 months to spend, or 12 months to spend, the $230 billion. Now, bringing a budget in December, well, November 28th, the budget was presented, and it will be debated and passed according to their plan by December 21st. However, the budget 2016 isn't finished as yet. The books aren't closed, and the books won't be closed until December 31st. And remember, they went, other than the $230 billion, they went for more supplementary financial papers as late as October 2016. So that $230 billion is now looking more like $240 billion for 2016. The minister has also said that the capital performance of executing capital works, is bridges, roads, and so on, was about 50% in August, which means we're underperforming. However, when we go to Parliament and we look at the statistics and we have to compare 2016 versus the projections for 2017, we will be dealing with guesstimates. Because if they haven't closed the books, they cannot put in the actual or the revised figures for the year 2016. Therefore, we in the opposition and you, the people, will be at a disadvantage to be able to really know what money was spent in 2016. And of course, as you know, we've had 26 scandals so far, and some of them keep evolving, such as the Durban Park one we did, and the parking meters we did at the last time we met last Thursday. But let me explain some of the measures, because people are a little bit confused or unsure about some of the things that are being brought in this budget to do with taxation. Again, this budget is tax, tax, tax. That's their answer to bring in more revenue. Instead of having economic activity and facilitating, encouraging, and giving concessions to the small, medium, and large producers of this country, particularly manufacturing, and the services, including information technology, call centers, and so on, to be able to improve that, they've in fact now taxed. And so let's go into some taxes that might be of interest to you, particularly you. So there are lots of ones to do with the private sector, which I'll come back to, but those that are going to affect you, the consumers, directly. Let's go to those. Well, you will be happy to know that VAT has been reduced from 16 to 14%. Jolly good. And that they're increasing the VAT threshold. So remember, there was a threshold if you were earning $10 million, you had to have this was the threshold for you to be able to go and get your TIN number, your certification, and stuff like that. This has been increased to 15 million. So let's see, that will, they said, make it easier for some self-employed people and persons working. VAT on electricity consumption. Now this is the one that everybody is concerned about. For the first time, VAT will be imposed on the electricity consumption. Now what it says is that the 14% VAT will be put on electricity consumption in excess of $10,000 per month. So if your electricity bill is below $10,000, the VAT will not be put on it. But $10,000, if your consumption of electricity is $10,000 and over, you will then pay the entire 14% VAT on the entire amount. So there's no limit. In other words, they're saying that the $10,000 is no VAT. But you can't then, if you're paying, let's say your bill is $30,000, deduct $10,000 as non-taxable. You will pay the 14% on the entire $30,000, $40,000, or whatever your bill is. So for those who are paying less than $10,000, that's good. They won't pay VAT. For a large group of people will be paying VAT on above $10,000 and above. And for the first time, we will be paying VAT on water consumption. So 14% of VAT, the 14% VAT, will be put on water consumption in excess of $1,500, $1,500 per month. You got that? And that's the majority of very poor in this country that might be paying that amount for water. However, if it is above $1,500, you pay the entire VAT on the entire amount. So let's say your bill is $2,000 a month for water consumption. You will pay 14% on the entire $2,000. If you're under $1,500, you will pay no VAT. And then, of course, they have changed around the exempt and zero-rated items. And so they have a number of exempted items, what we call essential items, that were exempted, zero-rated. And we're very confused about what that means. So we have to get clear what is the bill they're going to bring to change this. Because in the essential items, which were formerly zero-rated, these were essential food stuff, rice and sugar and so on, including baby things, baby formulas, diapers, and so on. Some farm machinery, and of course some the computers and your laptops and so on were zero-rated. So that they have a list, but it's unclear which one is now moving from exempted to zero-rated. This is a little bit confusing, and we'll come back to that at the next week. Then they've introduced, so those are things I think that everybody is going to be affected. Water, electricity, you're all going to be affected, and VAT on essential items. So they have not really brought in new items to be removed from paying VAT at all. So the list remains of those who are zero-rated. But I said we're not clear on some of these items, and the Minister Jordan has been, I think, believed to be deliberately unclear on a number of issues that would clarify these for us. Now, they brought in tax exemptions for a number of things like wind and solar energies, tax holidays, which we know basically is to cater for the companies that they are friendly with to get the wind and solar farms that they're talking about. They already have the companies outlined. These were mainly financiers during the election campaign. And then you have also a tax exemption for investment in water treatment and water recycling, and those who are involved in waste disposal and so on. But one of the interesting ones, again, for the majority of our citizens, is restriction on used tires. So remember last budget they brought in saying that they were going to prohibit the importation of used tires, and they gave a date, so I think it was April this year. And then they seem to have given some moratorium period. Well, what they have now done here is that the importation of used tires from motor cars, vans, pickups, SUVs, and minibuses will be restricted from entering Guyana. In others, they're prohibited from coming in, with effect from April the 1st, 2017. And vehicles which are imported into Guyana after April the 1st, 2017 were required to be fitted with new tires, including the spare tire. And then they will have a phase-out period for existing stocks of used tires. Used tires that have been ordered in a ship will be allowed a period of 3 months to have these orders completed. After that, then there will be the used tires that we have been importing and helping out a lot of ordinary people being able to keep their businesses going, or taxi men or minibus drivers. That will come to an end. They have reduced the tax on the new tires from 30% to 15%. So all these new taxes will come into effect on January 1st, 2017. They're not in effect now. And then, of course, the one that, of course, is really brazen of this government. You will recall in the 10th Parliament, we brought the customs tax to amend it to do with the environmental tax. The Surinamese company was taking it to the CCJ to say that we were being discriminatory in charging fees on environmental tax on imports of plastics from foreign companies, that is Suriname, Trinidad, etc., but we weren't doing that to local producers of plastics or importation of plastics. And so we took that to Parliament once. They defeated it with their APNU AFC combined 33 seats. And we brought it a second time, and they defeated it again. And our proposal was to make everyone pay an environmental tax that was lower than what the foreign companies were paying. And of course, the manufacturers here may not have been happy about it, but it was to make sure that we avoided a court case in the Caribbean Court of Justice where we would have lost, and it would have cost us as taxpayers millions of US dollars. Well, they defeated it twice in the 10th Parliament, and so the matter was heard before the Caribbean Court of Justice, and Guyana had to pay 16 million US dollars to Rhodesia. The government changed, and the Rhodesia owes Guyana a lot of money in taxes, income taxes, corporate taxes, etc., which they have not paid. This government, APNUFC government, did a write-off and a number of things for a number of companies, including paying back Rhodesia the 16 million US dollars we were charged, without any attempt to, one, make sure that Rhodesia paid the taxes that they owe the Guyana for our country. Now, here's the irony. The government will be imposing an environmental tax of $10 per unit on the importers and local manufacturers of products using non-returnable metal, plastic or glass contained of any alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage. And so here we go. They defeated it in the last Parliament twice, forcing Guyana to pay 16 million US dollars to Rhodesia, to a company, knowing fully well that we begged them in Parliament, pleaded with them in Parliament, in the 10th Parliament, to let this go through. We were charging a tax of 5%. This is now at $10 per unit on the importers bringing in non-returnable metal, plastic, or glass containers for alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. Then, of course, we have the reduction of the personal income tax. So they've increased the tax threshold from $660,000 per annum to $720,000 per annum. And this will cater to approximately 7,600 more people will be taken off the tax register. Up to 2015, there were 43,000 people based on the 500,000 that we had as the threshold and 600,000 for the threshold that we would have not had to pay tax at all. By increasing it to 720,000 per annum, therefore, it is put on 7,600 people, a relatively small amount, but bringing that to probably about 50,000 people will not have to pay for income tax. And they've also reduced the personal income tax rate from 30% to 28%. So if you're earning less than 2,160,000 per annum, or 180 per month. By the way, I'm reading from the budget itself, so these are not these are not my figures. So if you're earning 180,000 per month, or 2,160,000 per annum, your income tax will be dropped from 30% to 28%. But those who are earning over 2,160,000 per annum, they will then be paying a new rate of 40% on the income tax instead of what is now, or what is now presently, 33 1/3% across the board for anybody earning what was 660,000 per annum. So some will benefit and others won't. We'll be paying a higher income tax. Corporation tax has been dropped from 30% to 27.5% for manufacturing and non-commercial companies. But they're also removing what is dual tax rate for companies carrying out both commercial and non-commercial categories. And this will have an impact on a number of the business community, which they've raised in public statements. They've also imposed a 2% withholding tax on the gross payment made to all contractors, and that in the public sector, all public sector agencies will now have to pay VAT on all goods and services that they acquire, which means that all the ministries' budgets and state agencies' budgets have automatically been increased by 14%, because now they have to pay, whereas before they didn't have to pay VAT on these issues. The mortgage relief, interest relief, which was brought in under the PPC in 2011 and then amended during the 10th Parliament to bring it mortgage relief for loans up to 40 million, that these have been decreased to 15 million. So again, the available of people who have mortgages that may have been benefiting from the tax relief and able to offset that against their income tax, they will not be able to benefit from this. The amount will now drop to 15 million. And so there are lots of things here that are very complicated. Of course, there's a huge area of Guyana Revenue Authority giving them enormous powers, including to go into your bank accounts. And so one of the most frightening things in the powers and for the Guyana Revenue Authority is what is called garnishment. And in fact, it's what they're talking about is not garnishment. For example, if you owe GRA a lot of money, right? It's not even saying if you owe a lot of money, it's any money to the GRA. They can go into your bank accounts, and these are bank accounts of persons of outstanding tax arrears, and to be able to withdraw the money that you owe them. Now, presently, when you owe tax and you're not paying, they impose certain penalties, but they also can take you to court. And a court process can force you, by a court order, that you must pay the people. Generally, the GRA has had what is called a debt rescheduling. So a company owes a lot of money, they got into debt, whatever, that they have what is a debt scheduling. So you have a debt repayment schedule where you pay over 1, 2, or 3 years what is the amount owed. Maybe you owed for 5 years or more. That is not what they're talking about. This is that they can actually go into your bank account and they see that you have money that's available and withdraw it so that you no longer owe them money. Now, this is a major problem in terms of our constitution, in terms of the laws of our country, the issues of privacy, the issue of invasion of people's bank accounts by an agency that does not have to tell you that they're doing this, just has to give to the bank an order. Go into your bank account and take out what you owe them. And you may have no idea this until your bank sends you a statement or whatever, or you go to take out money and discover your money's gone. This is reprehensible of this government, absolutely reprehensible. We must fight against this. We must stop this, because the matter is, it's not about GRA. GRA has measures to be able to get you to pay. The problem is that nowhere in the GRA section of the budget measures does it talk about the fact that when GRA owes you money, that they must pay you. I'll give you an example. They owe me money for years, and they haven't paid me up to now. I want my money too. Can I go into the bank account of GRA and take out my money they owe me? because it can't be two-sided. It can't be one-sided that only GRA is able to get the money that you owe them. But they owe millions and millions and millions of dollars to taxpayers again, and they don't pay. It's like pulling teeth to get them to pay you, as if you're doing them a favor. So this is very one-sided, but the powers of the GRA have been given in the budget documents is quite phenomenal. And so, including things like persons leaving Guyana with liabilities with GRA. They're bringing in new legislation to be able to allow them to do different things. And I'm not sure. Doesn't mean they won't let you to leave if you owe them money. And of course, for the students who have gone on scholarship, this is going to be tightened even more because they have to serve, and therefore there are concerns by these students what will be the role of the immigration and the public service ministry with GRA to make sure that you can leave the country to go on holiday or anything. In addition to that, the extension of time for payment of tax. So the VAT Act empowers the Commissioner to extend the time for payment of tax by a person beyond the date when it is due. This provision allows a taxpayer to object to a decision by the Commissioner regarding an arrangement to settle outstanding VAT due. Given that VAT this is what the Minister is saying, given that VAT is funds held in trust, no such right should be given to taxpayers regarding payment. Therefore, they're going to repeal this provision that allows for an extension of the time by the Commissioner. And I said to you about budget agencies paying for VAT on what their goods and services acquire. Late filing of income tax, they're proposing an increase of 10% for late fees on filing income tax, and a flat fee of $50,000 will be applied to each loss or deficit return submitted after the prescribed time. Late payment of tax, again, they will be imposing a rate of 2% per annum on your late payment of tax. So one is late filing of income tax and one is late payment of income tax. So assuming that you're late in filing income tax, you will then be paying a flat fee of $50,000 for late payment for each period. And then you have a late payment when you owe them money and you haven't paid. Therefore, they will now apply a late payment tax of 2% per annum. And of course, they're including the interest rate to do with your late payments. So if you're really late and you owe for several years, the interest rate will be 18%. There are a number of other issues of penalties, of how you keep your books. These are self-employed or companies keeping their books. There are different fines and offenses relating to that. Non-resident companies who are also failing to keep accounting records in order, they will have to pay a fine of $1 million and so on. So this is heavy. Then let's go to some other areas of taxes. Travel tax. This is what you call the airport tax when you go up to the airport. Right now you pay $4,000. $2,500 is to do with the airport tax, and $1,500 is some other tax, which I can't remember. So it's $4,000. What they've done is increase the component of that, the $2,500 to $3,500 plus the $1,500. So you will be paying, $5,000 now for your travel tax. Did I add that right? Yeah. Then you have increases, a number of increases that will affect the business sectors, capital gains test, premium tax on reinsurance, and so forth. The fee for the passport, you will be paying an increase for passport from $4,000 to $6,000. Again, all these new taxes, January 1st, 2017. However, persons that are 65 age and above will be exempt from paying the payment of the passport fee. I guess you have to have your birth certificate to show that you're that. And then, of course, they're abolishing the requirement for motor vehicle compliance. However, they're increasing the fee for transfer of motor vehicle registrations for motorcycles and other vehicles, ranging from $5,000 for motorcycles to $25,000 or 2% of sale price, whichever is higher. So, and then your driving permits will also, for those who are living overseas and coming to Guyana who want to drive at Christmas times, these will be increased. And a number of custom fees are being increased as well. So Number of the customs fees are being increased, so when you go, the handling and so on, you'll be paying more for that from customs. And then you have liquor licenses, and again, those are increased for your application for your license from 5 to 10,000, renewal fees from $500 to 2,000, etc. And then, of course, old age pension has been increased to 19,000. Again from next year, and public assistance will increase to 7,500 from January. The interesting thing in the budget documents is that they say that there are 53,000 persons expected to benefit from the old age pension. That's rather odd because all the statistical projections for the old age the number of persons that are 65 and over in Guyana have been about 43-45%. So we can't understand this large increase of persons to 53,000 who will be benefiting from old age pension. And so that's about it. And I know that you probably want to call in. I wanted to give you a quick wrap up. There are many concerns by citizens in the private sector, and miners, for example, have been putting up a number of their concerns about this will do to the economy, what it'll do to their sectors, etc. So let me now open the mics, because I know that you, I'm sure, are very passionate about some of these issues and will want to talk about it. So let's start hearing your voice now. Hello, good afternoon, welcome to Matters of Public Importance.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
You know, this budget makes people Guyanese speechless.
Speechless, yes.
Yes, this budget makes Guyanese people speechless. Tuesday, when I open the paper, the people on the other side of the house, they get so confused that they're sleeping. Mr. Rangaton sleeping, the health minister sleeping, the education minister sleeping. They make a sleeping budget, put them people for sleep and let one man alone tax. Oh, they're so confused. You keep pension or something in the right hand and take them back in the left hand.
Yeah, with the water and increasing and putting VAT now on it.
But they only give them something for sure.
Yeah.
And they wash them out back with the water.
Exactly.
Now, if the PPP government they bring out a budget like this, I wouldn't believe we didn't believe that we had regency this man, when he choose the man, this man. But let me tell you something, I mean one guy laugh. There is a God, and God can't give a man more than what we can be here. We going back there. And when we go back there, I want Guyanese public to open their eye and see. Because everybody when they said this for Jagdew, this for Ramatal. But end of the day we had a happy living and a decent living in this country. Name me one sugar worker and one public sector want to get some 5% for Christmas for them children.
Yeah.
The most painful thing for Guyanese to see this is not more race.
Yeah.
Because the 10,000 with the PPP government gave, and I couldn't take me alone when I get them.
Yeah.
Overall Guyanese.
100,000 children benefited, yeah.
The whole country. So, you know, the budget, and you can explain. You know, when I was real by going to school, Carl Greenwich to make a budget, and you had to say what is the biggest debt in the country.
Yeah.
They said the budget for Carl Greenwich being out are the biggest debt. But many believe that debt was even out compared to this budget.
No.
You know, they have more less for people, Guyanese people.
Yeah.
And we know what I'm talking about, decent life. What kind of decent life them talk about? Now, when this rich man got to pay this 14% light bill, and they're bringing in container and got to freeze this and do that.
And more taxes on that too,
yeah. Man of it.
Well, exactly. It's the cost of living will go up.
Today, chopping out the tail of the fish and just want the fish to swim. If you chop out the tail of the fish, no one can't swim, you go home.
Exactly.
So exactly what I must say. But country, growth, you know, non-growth, the growth of the tree, the root of the tree chop out of the country, but don't have the thing because the trees are dead from tap to come.
Yeah.
This project doesn't bring out there. A man who called him before can't tell him and use the thing, the tongue, can tell him you want the minister in the house for this budget for them bring out.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody?
No, it's
I mean,
really,
they must have them a build decent guys behind it.
no.
Our job, that's what them a do now, what them pick up, or what the plan what by Jack they want that put out. Them they put out nothing from their own, but say them go build on door.
Yeah.
Them just go pick up thing and do whatever it is they do.
No, you know, my mother used to tell me, don't throw out the baby in the bathwater. So when you're bathing and you come in as a new government and you want to make change, you don't throw out everything that's been there before. You have some continuity, you know, but they're destroying what were systems in place, the cash grant, the youth programs, all these things, and now they want to bring in what is their new thing, and all it is taxation.
But
The
then it's
answer
not
is
look for the
taxation. Huh?
Them just simply not look for the baby.
And now they throw out everything. Everything the PPP did was bad, and get rid of it. Go.
If you, our caring government, are ready to go in power, the first thing you do, look the interest of your people in the
Exactly.
country. The
Exactly.
people in the country never watch for you.
Exactly.
Then we will tell them by the little rap now, right? I become a quite stability in the loop now. Because then people gonna fight over themselves and keep not snappy, don't think them. But you may correct yourself and let the whole country out.
Exactly.
They should have said all the manifesto and burn it up. All right, thank you.
Anyway, thank you. Have a good day, okay?
Good.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Matters of Public Importance.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon.
After this budget, put aside the VAT and everything, what they do with the water and everything.
Right.
The worst of all is they going into your bank account
Yeah.
to get your money.
Yeah, if you owe.
What else they gonna do? Go in your bedroom and see what they can get out from there?
Well, the problem is that
It's
you.
your price, you see.
Yeah.
Nobody don't know how you put it there, how hard you work, and
Exactly.
you know, a little that in case of your health or whatever. But
Yeah,
they gotta
exactly.
go inside there for get the money. What do I have the courts for?
Exactly. Exactly.
They'll throw out the court. You don't need the court to wasting money there.
The
And
problem.
get into everything that people got. So do I want to go to court?
Well, the problem is too is that there could be a reaction by people to say, look, I'm taking my money out of the bank. And there are two major problems with that. So GRA can go to the bank, but I don't have any bank account, so they can't do anything. That's a dangerous thing to do from two angles. One, we'll go back to the whole thing of people putting money on their mattress, and therefore the criminals will have fun and the bandits will have fun. And the other thing is that if that happens, it's going to have a major impact on the banking system in Guyana, the financial system, and availability of money. So this is major, major issues. They're just stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know what to call that. It's more than stupid.
It's
These
dangerous.
people bullying. It's bullyism.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they have the old people. You gotta pay 14% on light bill and water.
Yes.
What money they give you? Now they give you $800 more. What is it? I said I would even make it to 20,000.
Yeah.
And wrong thing, I would have been good for the people. Why? I didn't hear anything about the NIS.
No.
Anything coming around there?
No, I haven't heard that either. I don't recall seeing that.
Not with the NIS, no way to pay for the public service or anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I find it funny. I don't know about you, but as women, you know,
Yeah.
Christmas, you try to do a
This
little
is
extra
it.
for
This
your
is
family.
Christmas season.
Beg your pardon?
This is Christmas season.
Yes, I know. And
Yeah.
because
No bonus for the people there or anything.
No, but it really puts a real damper on Christmas because as Guyanese, what money we have, we cook and we try to take care of our families and
Right.
a little extra something. But the way this budget has come at December, it has, I think, dampened everybody's spirit. Everybody's worried,
I don't know which school these people go to.
I don't know, it's a school of uncaring. They don't care about the
They
ordinary
say
people.
nothing for the young people. Nothing
I
for the
didn't
young
hear
people.
anything, yeah.
No job or anything.
I haven't heard because they're not bringing in investments. They're not encouraging. These things they're doing will not help investors coming into this country.
Yeah.
Anyway, you take care of yourself.
I don't like to sit down and see what's going on.
Yeah, we will. The budget debate will start on December
Monday.
5th, yeah, and that'll go until the 9th, and then on the Yumanabi is the 12th.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the estimates the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then we break again and come back on the 20th and 21st. So we're going to be late into the night in the morning, I believe, of the 22nd. Can you believe that?
It's Christmas. Okay, Merry Christmas.
All
Have a nice
right,
day.
we'll talk again. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Yes,
Thank
bye.
you. Hi, hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Matters of Public Importance.
This budget is for the minister them because they have to pay no tax. They ain't got to pay no water rate, no light bill.
Yeah, the
But
state
this-
pays that, yeah.
This is for the 4 people. I don't know if the opposition gets it free too, I don't know.
No.
But this budget is to cause more suicide. And what that goes to the guy on the budget, the campaign telling people change and national unity. This is not national unity. And this is not change, this is the change we are changing gateways, you know?
Yeah.
So this budget is to kill the poor and poor people. This is what government you see. Everything is tax and tax and tax.
Yeah, that's their only answer to everything is
Killing the poor
taxation.
people. The civil servant they get nothing proper.
Yeah.
Nothing proper. They got to pay bills, they got to buy food for their children, school clothes and all these things. And they ain't got nothing proper. They even take already 10,000. So now the money what they give back to the old people, they take it back in the water and
Yeah.
the light bill.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
so
we-
where we going? We're not going to, this. All only guy these people need to do to protest against these people.
well, you
Then we
know,
got to come out and do a protest against these people because if you are fearing government for people and you pressuring people like this, some people barely making $2,000 a day.
yeah.
Right? They got to send children to school, they got to get uniform, they got to get transportation fee.
Well,
It's
you know,
very
they
high.
all these fees going up for taxes, for
Yeah, if
the
you care for
tires
children,
and all these
even
things.
For the milk, for the children drink, you put tax on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are you doing to this nation?
Well, you know, I hope that the trade unions and the business community, women's groups and so on will see the necessity. They just can't sit there and rely on us to talk all the time because even one of the earlier callers, the first caller, talked about, you know, that this is a merciless budget. It doesn't have mercy on people,
So
on
what's
the poor
crime
people.
in this country? When Mr. Rohi was the Home Affairs Minister, soon as two parties get going on, people protest.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Rohi is not what happened to him that on your sleep, or he's a hard minister. I don't know he's what.
I don't know. He's just fussing and not dealing with the real things.
Yeah.
But,
Just talking and telling, come out and do action and visit and see what's going on with the people.
Well, exactly.
Because the real money, you got the bandits coming and kill you now, and then the government tax to kill you. So where you stand, you got to commit suicide.
But you know, one of the things of the PPP government over the years was that the visibility of the president, prime minister, and ministers. So, you know, you went out and had cabinet retreats, you walked around communities, ministers. If a seawall break, a minister was there to see what's going on. You had a flood, you had this. And our people got accustomed to that anytime something went wrong, or they saw their ministers, they saw their president, they saw their prime ministers, and to such a point that they wanted you there all the time. Now, where is the president? The
No.
president has no meeting with the media except
Yes,
the select group, and he
the
goes
thing
to
that we want
activities
to
and
know,
leaves.
so where is Mr. Nagamutu?
Where's Nagamutu? No going out to the communities. Where are the ministers?
No.
They go to a community, they do what they have to do and leave. They don't have the
There's
discourse with the
no work for
people.
the young generation. No work for the young people.
Yeah.
Now, when you punish and you work and send your children to high school, they graduate from the university.
Yeah.
What we can do is we get one in Borbis, they go and go drive saltfish, one in Escable plant little fish planting, and one in Tongo to the
Yeah.
we ain't got no job. The president said, "You can't get job for nobody."
Yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, you
what-
can't
what-
get jobs unless the economy is expanding. The economy is improving. You have more investors. You have more Guyanese creating businesses and so on. But if you're going to make it so hard for the business community, more taxes, more paper, more this, more that, then they're not going to want to expand. And just like the rice farmers, the rice farmers not
There's
producing
no way for the
like
rice
before.
farmers.
There's no
Our
way for them.
minister, he has confidence for agriculture.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's really sad. This is a disaster for our country.
They can't find market for it. So what are people going to do? So we get to bear up until 2020.
We're going to make sure in 2019 that the local government elections are free and fair.
Yeah,
And we're going to make sure
exactly.
GCOM doesn't do any nonsense like 2015.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we win the
Okay.
elections.
So everybody needs to go.
Yeah, well, we're having consultations yesterday and
Yeah.
today
You need to
to
go.
come up with names because we have to give
Yeah.
the president 6 names.
There's some people coming from quarantine selling in the market there, like thinking if you have a tax and a good can't sell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying, you gotta pick up on that and you
Yeah.
can't sell up.
No, the things are very, very slow. Very
Okay.
slow. Anyway, you take care of yourself.
Yes, thank you
Okay,
very much.
thanks. Okay, one last call for. Did I cut off anybody?
Hello?
One last call for 2 minutes and I have to close off. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hello?
Welcome to Matters of Public Importance.
Hello?
Yes, hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes.
I was trying to call you since last week.
I know the phones are busy all the time. Yes.
You had kept the meeting right in front of my house here.
Huh?
The campaign time, you had kept the meeting right in front of me.
Yes?
Yeah, and we recently talked in front. I hope that the electorate eyes open now. I hope that the electorate eyes open because you were saying at that meeting you were saying what they would do. They would have taxed us and so on.
No one believed me. They thought I was mad.
You were saying that at the meeting that they would, and your words come to pass. Your words come correct to pass. I do hope that the electorate see what these people are doing now,
Yeah.
right? And I hope that in 2020 they will make the right choice.
Yeah, and we have to make sure the GCOM machinery is not tampered with like in
Government will
2015.
take everybody. But
Yep.
this is gross bypass for people.
Yes, exactly.
This is really gross bypass to poor people. I can understand that they were saying on the campaign trail, Mr. Beecher and Mr. Nagamoto, that sugar is too big to fail.
Yeah.
Sugar, people are talking, but they're not talking reality. I can quote Mr. Granger and Mr. Nagamoto. I follow them. I got all the meetings,
Right.
so I could balance it myself. I don't want to tell I went to PPP meeting alone, right?
No, that's okay with me.
Right? And they're saying that sugar is too big to fail, right? And now they're saying that we have to close it because it how all the time it didn't owes. As sudden now you hear that the sugar industry owes 80 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
how we come to that now,
Exactly.
right? But this budget is not a budget for the poor people.
No.
The last caller said this budget is for the Prime Minister and the President and the Cabinet only,
Yeah.
right? I do hope. Now, you know the fact. You want to tell the people, I see Mr. Nagamoto was saying on the TV like that, and the night before, that you have to look into the budget. How much deep are we blind? Are we
Yeah.
deaf? He was saying that this is a poor people budget. Now, you know the fact. Just to tell a few sections of Guyana that you take it off from 16 to 14, but then you're taking it back more than on the other.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like you're taking with two hands. You give
Yeah,
with one
yeah.
hand and you take with two
Yeah.
hands. You don't raise your foot up for your toe.
What do they call it in card games when you have a sleight of hand? What do you call a card trick? You know? It's a kind of card trick. But anyway, thank you for calling. I've got to close off the program.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And keep on the fight.
Will
Keep
do.
on the fight. I really admire that you're still fighting. I'm seeing you, Mr. Rohi, Mr. Irfan. You all are still trying. I want everybody just hold and bond yourself together, and when that time reaches,
Yeah.
we will take this country back. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry we have to close today because I'm sure that next week we will be in the Parliament because we're starting from 10 to 10, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. according to the government, so that I'm not sure I will be able to be here. I will try to organize to be able to come out to do the program from 12:30 to 1:30. Because you will want to know what's going on in Parliament as well. What are the issues being raised? And so we will try to make every effort to be with you next Thursday. Just to let you know, as I close, that I went to Cuba on Tuesday morning with the Guyana delegation headed by Prime Minister Nagamoto. The Square of the Revolution was Tuesday night, where all the foreign dignitaries spoke from, they had about 90 delegations from various countries, and the Prime Minister sat with the heads of state, and I sat with the other diplomatic dignitaries and representatives of country delegations. And so it was a fantastic experience to be there with thousands and thousands and thousands of Cuban people and representatives of different countries, many of whom spoke in honor of Fidel Castro. But just to say, I haven't been to Cuba for a long time, and I was amazed at how this country that was under an embargo for all these years, still under the embargo, was able to develop their society. And Cubans are still wonderful people, hardworking, giving people, giving to the rest of the world and giving to anybody, and sharing with people who come to their country. So it was a great honor to be there and to represent the opposition and to be part of the Ghana delegation, because we as a people have benefited and had long relations from 1959 and 1960 with the Cuban people, and officially with diplomatic relations from 1972. So for me as a member of the People's Progressive Party, it was a great honor to have been selected to go to represent us. But we'll talk about Cuba probably another sitting as well. But we have lost a great leader, international leader, by Fidel Castro, and it's a great country and a great people. So as I close, please remember, don't drink and drive. As I always tell you, we want everyone to be safe and healthy. We need people in our country, and we need young people, and so please stay safe. And we'll meet again next week, Thursday. Have a blessed week. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones. I know these are hard times, but don't be daunted. We struggled for change, and we brought in October 92, and we will struggle again for the restoration of democracy and for the advancement of our country, because democracy is also being undermined in all of this. So 2020 or before that, we will struggle to make sure that Ghana does not collapse under this government, and that we will be able to restore our country to the progress and the standard it was achieving by 2015. So all the best, take care of yourself, and be safe. Bye-bye. Ciao.